Hello everybody and welcome to Nathan on Shuffle, and today it is January 14th, 2022, and this is today's episode of New Music Friday, where I talk about the top prog headlines of the week and then give some updates on the channel and what's going on here on Nathan on Shuffle. So hopefully you guys are excited to be here. I'm excited to be here. I'm feeling a little bit rusty. It's been a little bit of a hiatus from doing this show for a few weeks. This is my first recording for 2022, just because of the holidays and because of feeling a bit under the weather the past week or so. So I'm getting a later start into videos for the year than I expected, but now that I'm back, I'm hoping to get back to a regular format and get into the groove of things and have regular content for you guys. So I'm going to jump right into the news stories. It's kind of a supersized one since I've taken several weeks away from it. There's been some buildup of some interesting news items and some fun things to kind of track, especially at the start of the year. So there's actually going to be 10 items. Usually I do the top 5 headlines, but today I'm expanding it into 10. But I'm going to try to shoot through them fairly quickly. One of my goals for the channel this year is to try to do shorter, more informative videos and to try not to ramble on too much, because I know I can be a bit long-winded, and sometimes I think people don't like the length of the videos when they kind of get too huge, especially with a lot of the year-end content I did last year. A lot of my videos were really expanding and getting big, so I'm going to try to streamline it a bit and try to just give you guys the main key points and what's most important. So hopefully you guys appreciate that, and so without further ado, let's get into it. Alright, so first things first, an update from Steven Wilson. On Steven Wilson's website, he gave kind of a little bit of maybe a retrospective, but kind of more so a looking forward to the next year and the kind of activity that he's planning for what's coming up. Of course, he talked a bit about the Future Bites from last year, and they got some Grammy nominations and so forth from doing that, so that was really a cool honor for Steven Wilson. But he's talking about that he's working on a new book, limited edition of 1, to be published by Little Brown in late March. Just basically a autobiographical type story, ideas about music and the way things have changed over time as in his professional life. Also some supplementary material coming about with that, a 70-minute CD with audio illustrations about things that are talked about in the book, including brief extracts from his school band's early unreleased demos by No Man and Porcupine Tree, among other stuff. And of course the big news he mentioned that I've already covered on New Music Friday last year is the new 2022 release of Porcupine Tree. They're coming out with the album Closure/Continuation, written during lockdown by him, Gavin, and Richard. So it's really just a 3-piece writing this. It's going to come out in June. But then I also thought was cool, the other major project he's been working on is a new solo album that he hopes to release mid-2023. So looking quite far into the future on that one. But it seems like it's a big conceptual piece, a big concept album that he's working on based on a short story that appears in the book that he's writing. So there's a long way to go with it, of course, but he's really excited about it, and it sounds like it's taking a new direction compared to his established material. So just a lot of cool stuff going on in his world, along with a lot of his remake scene kind of work that he does. He's working on some of that still. No real big details on what's coming up in those 5.1 Dolby Atmos mixes that he does, but hopefully we'll see something materialize in 2022 with that work as well. So just thought that was a cool piece of news and a good update on Steven Wilson, since he's one of my favorite artists. Moving to item number 2, this is kind of just a short hit. The album Civilian by Gentle Giant is going to be reissued on CD and LP in spring 2022. An album that I really like. I did a Gentle Giant breakdown of my rankings of their albums, and I ranked Civilian fairly high compared to a lot of people. Not super high, but kind of a bit higher. Some people rank it as one of their bottom CD or second place, but I really like it a lot because I think it really brought a great modern sound into the band that I think could have been interesting to explore that direction. But of course, this was their last album, and they didn't pursue this kind of course. But it was a really successful, to me, experiment of trying to infuse that kind of 80s aesthetic, that 80s pop and rock music of the day into their kind of style, and I think it worked really well. So I'm excited to pick this up. I think this is kind of an essential pickup for me, so I just wanted to mention it for the fellow Gentle Giant fans out there. Next, another short hit that I thought was just really fascinating, so I felt like I had to mention it. Rush there's coming out with a pinball machine that's based on the band Rush. It sounds like they're going to be celebrated through this pinball machine by Stern Pinball. It looks like it was showcased at the 2022 Consumer Electronics Show that ran from January 5th to January 8th. There's a teaser video I'll put in the description that kind of shows off the kind of design and so forth. It's featuring a lot of the different songs from the Rush catalog, obviously. So it's pretty cool. Song list includes Headlong Flight, Far Cry, One Little Victory, Working Man, 2112, Tom Sawyer, Spirit of Radio, Free Will, Cygnus X1, The Big Money, Subdivisions, Limelight, Fly By Night, La Via Strangiato, Bastille Day, and Red Barchetta. So a pretty hefty track list there that's going to kind of accompany the game. So just kind of really interesting news and should be kind of fun. I don't know. I thought it was kind of a unique piece of news for a Prog channel that there's a pinball machine game coming out based on one of the bands that I really love. So there's a lot of interesting video clips that you can look up, and then, like I said, I'll put in the description of Geddy Lee and Alex Lifeson kind of talking behind the scenes a little bit, kind of teasing it, and just kind of some fun stuff about it, kind of taking a journey with Rush through time is kind of the idea of the pinball machine. So just kind of a cool thing to look at. Number 4, maybe a little bit on the sadder side. There's a couple of these types of news items in the list. Pendragon apparently has canceled their touring plans for 2022, basically because of the pandemic and the continuing concerns about COVID and the Omicron variant as well. So that was kind of a sad thing to hear about, that's going to basically be canceled and not continuing with that, just because of the costly nature of it. It's just such a risk for such a smaller band to go with. But I did see they had like a Christmas video that Nick Barrett came out with, where he talks about some upcoming new music coming out. So that's kind of the silver linings here, is because of the pandemic, they've had some time to work on a little bit of new material. It's not a full-length album. It sounds like it's going to be a mini album that he kind of mentions it as a mini album, about 25 minutes worth of material. Plays a little clip of it in this little Christmas message, so I'll put that in the description as well, because it sounds pretty cool. And so that should be something to look forward to, a little EP or such of new music from Pendragon. So it should be cool to get some new material. It showed a little bit of the artwork they're working with. It seems to be in line with their previous album, Love Over Fear, which was one of my absolute favorites of the year it came out. So looking forward to new material from the band, and I think it could be cool to see. Item number 5, Michael Romeo shares a new track from his upcoming solo album. The track is called Divide and Conquer. The solo album is called War of the Worlds Part 2, so this is kind of a follow-up to Part 1 that he released as a solo album several years back. So this album, War of the Worlds Part 2, will be coming out on March 25th, so a new album to look forward to. And this is the first full-length track that they've released from it. Really cool stuff, really kind of, what you'd expect from kind of this progressive metal. Features guest vocals by Trans-Siberian Orchestra and Whitesnake Live member Dino Jelusic. So it seems like, this is finally on track for release after a lot of delays through the COVID era and so forth. So it should be a cool album that's coming out if you like the kind of Symphony X style progressive metal. It seems to be on a heavier edge, but also with kind of sci-fi storytelling. It's basically H.G. Wells inspired with modern day, sounds and so forth. Some super heavy cinematic music and lots of guitars, because of course Michael Romeo is the guitarist here. So should be a really fun, heavy, cool album. So something definitely to look forward to. Another kind of sad note here at number 6, Spock's Beard is basically putting their March UK tour that they were planning on hold. They were going to kick off their tour on March 14th in Leeds. It was going to be their first UK date since 2018, but apparently it's been canceled. Not sure if it's being postponed and happening later or just outright canceled. The verbiage almost makes you feel like it's just pretty much canceled. They just really can't seem to make it work out because of what's happening with COVID and the Omicron variant and all of that stuff. So it just seems like it's not going to happen at this time. We'll see if maybe they'll start up a tour in the future when things get a little bit better. But for now, it's just there's too much uncertainty. And so the Spock Spirit is going to kind of be put on hold for a minute, at least with this little UK tour that they had thought to do. So unfortunate, obviously, but it seems to be happening here and there. So still being affected by that stuff. So we'll see. I still have great hope that there will be a lot of good concerts in 2022. There's a lot of other tours that are still continuing onward and seem pretty promising. So it's just a little smattering of some of these other ones that just, they have to take different things into account. So don't know the full picture of it from their perspective, but that's basically what's happening there. Item number 7, talking about Jethro Tull and their new album, The Zealot Gene. They released the title track, a video for it. I'll put the link, of course, in the description for it. Really cool little track, once again, just typical Jethro Tull style, and sounds really good for the band. So I'll be talking about the album definitely on the channel upcoming. Really excited to delve into that. The album, The Zealot Gene, comes out January 28th. Their first studio album in nearly 2 decades. It's been in the works since 2017, initially slated for a 2020 release, but of course, as we've been discussing, the pandemic kind of halted the release, but now it's coming out in 2022. This is the 3rd single that's been released after Shoshana Sleeping and Sad City Sisters. So that's basically the news there with Jethro Tull. So look forward to the new album, and it should be a good one. Number 8, a new debut single was released from a new band called Envy of None, which is important because it features Alex Lifeson, of course, the guitarist of Rush. Big notable mega figure in the music community that many people are familiar with, being part of this kind of new collective group. And it's been getting some attention in the prog community, so I felt like I had to mention it. Envy of None, this is going to be their debut self-titled album that this track comes from. The band is Alex Lifeson of Rush, Andy Curran from Coney Hatch, Alfio Annabellini, who I believe is doing the engineering and involved in the process, and then singer Maya Wynn. This is due for release on K-Scope on April 8th. So should be a cool release. And it sounds really interesting, the track. I know it's been getting a lot of maybe criticism online, at least for people who really are looking for a Rush style sound. It doesn't sound anything like Rush. It almost doesn't even really sound anything like traditional prog that you might expect, or even traditional classic rock, if you might have been expecting that. But it's more modern and alternative and kind of experimental. Really not quite what you might expect, but I think Alex Lifeson is excited about the material because it's something very different. I think with his next project, he wanted to do something that wasn't like Rush, really, and something that was in a different lane. So I think this is kind of ticking that box a bit. So it says it ricochets between various shades of alternative, experimental, and synth rock, throws surprises at every turn, twisting dark melodies against contemporary pop hooks. Lifeson himself is proudly aware of how little of it crosses over with the band that made him famous. So yeah, don't go in expecting like big Rush style sounds or, big progressive rock style music here. This is definitely more alternative and experimental, a little bit like industrial or something along those lines. The single is called Liar. I don't think I mentioned the name of it. And it has industrial beats and a driving fuzz bass and atmospheric guitars. There isn't really any guitar soloing. It's more, giving an atmosphere, kind of more in the dark art rock vein of like a Depeche Mode or Nine Inch Nails or a Perfect Circle, something like that. I was even thinking about Evanescence, maybe because of the female vocals. So, but I really liked it. I thought it was really catchy and really cool and sounded very different. Of course, you can't really... I couldn't tell that it was Alex Lifeson necessarily, but I thought it was really inventive and interesting track. So I recommend checking it out at least to give it a shot. And if it's not your thing, that's fine. But I really appreciated it. I thought it was a cool, promising new project. So I'll definitely be eager to check out more. And like I said, the self-titled album will be due out on April 8th via Kscope in a variety of different formats as usual. All right, at number 9, we've got a new single from DiVirgilio, Morse, and Jennings from their upcoming Troika album. Of course, I'm a big Neil Morse fanatic, so I always mention any news that has to do with Neil. This single is called Everything I Am, and much in line with the single that was already released of Julia. It's more of that singer-songwriter type Crosby, Stills, and Nash vibe with those excellent 3-part harmonies. I mentioned on Twitter how this is just like the music I'm craving right now. It's just upbeat and happy and joyful, and it's just the perfect light amidst like some kind of dark times, at least for me. I don't know if everyone else feels similarly, but I just really need that kind of uplifting vibe in my life right now. So I have a feeling this album's going to come out right when I need it most in my life. So February 25th is the album's release date. I've already pre-ordered. I'm really excited for it. This track just gets me even more amped up. Of course, I'm going to link the track in the description. Excellent. Check out the video. It's very fun. Showcases the band in a great way. Directed by Christian Rios. Just so wonderful. Just a beautiful track. Wonderful stuff. I'm so excited to hear the full album. I think it's going to be excellent. And then finally, a new single came out from Muse, a track called Won't Stand Down. Muse, of course, maybe not totally full-blown progressive rock like a lot of these other groups that I've talked about, more of a proggy influences in my opinion, but more maybe in the alternative rock kind of style. But a lot of progressive rock fans like their music. This is a powerful new single, very heavy, kind of has a metal influence in it, kind of about standing up to bullies. Has a very interesting, weird kind of music video to accompany it, but I thought it was a really promising track. There really isn't much other information about like an upcoming release and whatnot. But you got to imagine that there probably will be an announcement of some kind of release that this single is a part of. So something to look forward to, possibly to be released in 2022. They have plans to tour this summer in Europe in June and July. So there's stuff moving on the Muse front if you're a Muse fan. And just wanted to mention it because I thought the single was pretty strong and had kind of a cool edge to it that I think many of you guys might like it. So that's the top 10 items for the week. Hopefully you enjoyed that kind of supersized announcement of news there. Talking about the channel a bit, it's been quiet on the channel. I did do a community post last week kind of mentioning the situation and why things have been a bit quiet. I mentioned it at the top of the show a little bit that I've been a bit under the weather the past best week or so. Really, it's been a couple weeks, to be honest. And there's been a lot of holidays and things going on and just really busy for various reasons, and it's been a little bit crazy, but I'm hoping things are about to normalize and that I can get back into my routine and get things going with the channel. So I'm planning to do an interesting video this upcoming week that I'm going to call a Prog Preview for 2022. Basically just all the things I'm excited about in the world of prog for the year, you know, the upcoming releases, some of the upcoming concerts that I'm considering attending, or some I even have tickets to, and just kind of my plans with the channel and kind of the things I've been thinking over the last few weeks or so as I've been thinking, like, how can I improve things? What should I do this next year? I'm hoping to get back into Jana Reacts this Sunday. No guarantees. We're still kind of working through our stuff right now, our illnesses, and trying to figure out the best schedule for that. So, but I'm hoping that we can get something in and have a video for you guys on Sunday. That would be great, and then get back into the habit of that. So that's what I'm hoping for on that front. And besides that, I've probably gone on long enough. So just want to thank you guys for your support and all that you do. Grateful for all of the comments I got on that community post where I mentioned that I wasn't feeling great. A lot of great support and you know, get well soon kind of messages, and I really appreciated that. I'm grateful that you guys are so understanding and willing to wait while I get better and are okay with me taking a little bit of a break. That's really encouraging. Grateful for the growth of the channel throughout the past year, and I hope that I can keep up to the same standard and maybe even raise the bar a little bit more for the videos upcoming. Really grateful. Please subscribe if you haven't yet. I really would appreciate that. The more subscribers I get, the more motivated I am to continue to give you guys good content, and it helps me to know what's working and what isn't. Thank you guys so much. Hope you guys are doing well. Hopefully you guys are getting through. If you have any illnesses or things of that nature in your life right now, that things are improving, and so just keep enjoying the music. Hopefully that can bring some happiness and joy out there. It's helped me through a lot of this time, and I'm excited to delve back into it and hopefully get into some good new releases this year and get some good album reviews out. So thank you guys so much, and I'll see you guys soon. Have fun out there and enjoy the music. Bye.